All righty, welcome to this Money Monday edition of Stop the Steal TV, otherwise known as Liquid Lunch, but still plenty to fight. We have Mayor Rudy Giuliani out in Arizona with Jenna Ellis explaining to the legislature and the Senate out there on why they have to exercise their authority and seat the right electors. It was rife with fraud. Pennsylvania's looking at the same thing. So's Michigan, so's Wisconsin, so's Georgia. So anybody who's out there had a spirited debate this weekend with some really smart people who are Trump supporters, and they're talking about how, JT, you just got to come to grips with the thing. It's over. And it's not over. And I've been saying this for a while, but it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and I don't see any fat ladies around. In fact, there's only one lady in the studio. It's my daughter Ava, and she is far from fat. She is quite skinny, might I add. But next thing, many people were violating Cuomo's in New York and other states, these Thanksgiving lockdowns, wear masks in between bites, don't have people in your house, everybody stay outside and freeze. Staten Island City Councilman Joe Borelli gave the finger to Mayor Cuomo and de Blasio. He had 11 people over his house. I had some folks over the other night to watch the Mike Tyson fight, but now they're talking about canceling Christmas. And to break down why Anthony Fauci is the modern-day Grinch, my buddy Fernando Uribe joins me right now from the Garden State. He's the host of Real Talk via Eyes on NJ. Fernando, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Monday.
So we always love having you in leadoff spot, and I got to ask you, what in the world is going on when they're talking about canceling Christmas?
Well, John, it's really startling to me because we're seeing numbers, and by the way, I mean, if for anyone that kept up with the news over the weekend, more than 9 million people decided to travel during the Thanksgiving holiday, John. So many Americans are clearly not going to stay home and sit put and wait for their governors to give them the freedom that they already have to begin with. And, it's something that is really mind-boggling to me that as many people are still sort of oblivious to and are sort of putting the wool over their eyes about this. And I think many Americans, especially here in New York and New Jersey, John, are not going to comply. They're going to live their lives. And again, listen, if you feel vulnerable, if you feel like you have the potential to get sick, I'm not going to tell anyone how to live your life. But for those of us that feel that we should be able to travel, we should be able to shop as we wish, being safe and obviously and responsible, you know what? Live and let live, John. And I think, now it's getting to the point where people at the federal government, like Dr. Fauci, are now trying to dictate to us how to celebrate our holidays. It just seems very draconian and very, very tyrannical. And this is something that, quite frankly, doesn't fly with Americans who believe in the basic.
No. I've been trying to, re-examine my own personal faith since this whole pandemic, and I've been looking at things from a lot more spiritual perspective. And it's not like, oh my God, this is about a pandemic or whatever. For years, religion has been under attack in America. We can't call it a Christmas tree. You can't put the nativity up in the town center. You have to call it a holiday celebration. And they were trying to remove the word Christmas because it has the word Christ in it. From basically general vernacular. You can't say Merry Christmas in schools. You can't say the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. Now what they're talking about is ending the tradition for this year or pausing. And I think, a lot of kids around the world would probably be quite disappointed if Santa's sleigh can't land in their town on Christmas.
John, you're absolutely right about that. And even this past week, we saw, cries from many people on the left and many liberal groups advocating for dissolving Thanksgiving because of its sort of very questionable history and its beginnings. And John, again, this is something that secularists and many on the left, whether it's liberal groups like the ACLU or even elected officials, are trying to do here. And that's erase our history, right? We saw this over the summer where people got triggered by statues leading up to Columbus Day, going to Thanksgiving. And now the idea that political correctness is on steroids now, it's really disappointing, John. And I'm glad that many Americans like yourself and our loyal audience here on Liquid Lunch are not going to cave to this. And it's something that we should really be vigilant about, especially during this holiday season.
No, we're not going to cave to this. And in the same way, Fernando, I've been I literally feel like a mentor or something. I got people around me, friends and stuff. I was at my golf course this weekend, sneaking in a last round before the winter, and guys who are big Trump supporters are saying, nah, JT, you just got to come to the reality. It's over. Biden won. And that's the media trying to get everybody to a place of fatigue where they think, all right, maybe it is over. Let's just stop being crazy about it. And I'm not submitting to that. And, I don't know if you saw, but a couple guys here in Staten Island, New York, they got their bar shut down. And they declared the bar an autonomous zone, and now they're open. They got their liquor license taken away. They got their health department license taken away. They locked the doors. They're giving away free alcohol and also giving away free food. And they found a clever way here where they're asking patrons who come in to leave a tip. So they give them free food and free drinks, and they leave a tip or a donation for the bar or the bartender. So to me, when you start seeing people say, hey, I don't care about these rules, I'm not listening to them, I'm violating them, there's one point where, hey, you know what, you're a rabble-rouser and you're a rule breaker, and then all of a sudden you start crossing the line into a place where, these guys are patriots and they're sticking up for their freedoms and liberties. I think we're going to see a lot more of this start happening.
John, I agree with you. And, shout out to that bar owner there, as you mentioned, with the autonomous zone, all right? Because during the summer, didn't we see autonomous zones in cities like Seattle and Portland? And that seems to be applauded by the left. And you don't hear a peep from the liberal mainstream media. And just to a point you mentioned before, John, about the election, I'm not ready to concede anything either. And I have to applaud you and other very few media outlets like Liquid Lunch that are not going to cave to the mainstream media sort of suppression of information. That is, listen, John, I haven't really watched mainstream news since Election Day because I just don't trust it anymore. And I think millions of Americans share the same sentiment. And the audience here on Liquid Lunch feels the same way. So, we're talking about very reliable and reputable news programs like this right here is trying to keep us informed and make sure that we're not being, fed this lie, but as we're being fed by the mainstream liberal media. I think it's refreshing. And again, the president isn't conceding anything. He seems to be very calm. He's sending his lawyers out to go about the process, and let's see what happens. And I'm confident this will go to the Supreme Court. I'm not an attorney. I don't claim to be one, but I think in the short time I've been reading about this entire case law and election law overall, I think there's still room for optimism, and I think we should not give up any hope. And because, quite frankly, I think this election was stolen. And John, it's amazing to me that there were massive gains in the House by Republicans. And it looks like Republicans are going to keep the Senate, but somehow Donald Trump received, tens of millions less votes than Joe Biden. Again, for a guy with campaigning out of his basement,
it doesn't happen.
I'm not believing it.
It does not happen, Fernando. You don't have the top of the ballot win and everyone down the ballot lose. The only way that can happen, statistically, mathematically, is if a whole bunch of fake ballots were dumped in with only one vote on them, and that vote is for Joe Biden. Because if you remember, and we talked about this a lot in the run-up to the election, that the Democrats were talking about, taking another 15 to 20 seats in the House of Representatives, taking back the Senate, taking back more state houses. And as we stand here today, I believe we're like plus 12. We were supposed to lose 12, so it's a 24 congressperson swing in our favor. We took back 2 more state houses. We still have the Senate, at least in a tie, and we have 2 runoffs. So it starts to become really mathematically incalculable to think the top of the ballot won by tens of millions of votes, and the rest of the Democrats down the line all lost. And I think Rudy Giuliani and some private citizens and Jenna Ellis and Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell are coming in with some civil lawsuits. I think it's coming together, but the clock is running.
John, you're absolutely right. And here's something else maybe our audience isn't aware of. Back in 2008, when Barack Obama won the presidency, on November 16th, he relinquished his Senate seat. Kamala Harris has yet to do that in California. And it kind of makes you wonder, why hasn't she? If the Biden camp is so confident about what's going on, shouldn't she have already relinquished her Senate seat? And Gavin Newsom, the governor in California, shouldn't the process begin about, filling that vacancy? That speaks volumes to me, John, as to why that isn't happening and why Kamala Harris is still a sitting U.S. senator.
It is a little strange, but there are a lot of strange things going on out there, that's for sure, my friend. It's not Money Monday if you don't see Fernando Uribe on your screen. Buddy, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's keep in touch. You and the family stay safe in this storm.
You too, John. Take care.
Host of Real Talk on Eyes on NJ, Fernando Uribe. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to hit you hard with some news of the day right after this.